Hey everyone, happy Friday. Are you a nice girl who needs a little bit of rehabilitation? If so, this video is for you. My name is Marissa Price. I'm a Black woman social worker, healer, freelance educator, providing safe spaces on the internet for Black women to process past traumas that we've gone through, heal from those experiences, and share resources openly and authentically with each other. So please subscribe to my channel. Please like this video if it resonates, and please comment below if you're watching the replay. And welcome to those of you who are live on this Friday. Happy Friday. I have a wonderful guest with me today, Vicky S. Joseph. I will pass it over to her to introduce herself and tell us about the work she does as a speaker.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I am honored. Thank you for having me. And I am a nice girl in recovery. I help women who are way too nice to be able to stand up for themselves, set healthy boundaries, and find their authentic voice and roar. I'm an all around creative, acting, writing, speaking, and my mission is to empower women to be able to step into their power and own their worth.
Ooh, I love that. Ooh, and we just talk a little bit about your creative endeavors because we met in the garden,
We did.
created by Alicia Renese, for Black women rediscovering our creativity, and just like the multiple things that you're in as a creative. Like, how did that journey start for you? Have you always been a creative?
Well, I would say a little bit because when I was younger, I did like morning announcements as a kid, but I had like a shy phase. And
Yeah.
so my voice was muted and my nickname was Quiet Vicky. And then it wasn't until like I've always had a journal, diary, things of that nature. But it wasn't until I stepped on stage when I was an undergrad, I auditioned for a play and then I got the part. And then that's when I started being in theater guild and acting. And then eventually I stepped into acting coaching. And it was all history from there.
That's amazing. Wow. And I'll just share like my journey, like tapping into my creativity has really helped me heal and recover my voice. So that's so interesting you say that, having that nickname and your voice being kind of muted and the creativity being like the catalyst to like
Yes.
open up to like all the things that were inside you the whole time.
It was funny
That's
because when I stepped off stage, I was like this, but on stage, you're like, yeah. And they're like, we need that same person to come out. And I'm like, well, listen, like, y'all gonna have to work with me.
I love that. And it just does something, right? When you tap into the creative gifts that you were particularly like chosen for,
Right.
right? When you tap into those, there's something that magical that really happens,
Mm-hmm.
with your self confidence,
Yes.
right? Especially for those of us who are more introverted,
Yeah.
and just having an outlet to express yourself, right? That is like the power of creativity. So thank you for sharing that.
No, it's my
I love
pleasure.
that. And I see some folks in the chat. Hey y'all, Daniela, hello, hello. Annika, thank you for joining. Bonnie, hello, hello. Thank you for being here. Yes, I do want to talk about the work you do as a public speaker, like motivating Black women to embrace our power, our authority, and transition out of being considered a nice girl, right? Keeping a lot of things inside that may be bothering us and like really tapping into who we are. Like, what
Right.
does that work look like for you as a speaker?
Well, for me, I want to say that it started off in regards to a lot of pain. There's a saying that says, your misery will be your ministry. And
Mm.
my experiences, it started off with constant mistreatment, bullying, emotional abuse. And then
Mm.
from there, I pushed through the outlets through writing, journaling, through acting in theater to be able to build my confidence in that way. And I helped other women to be able to find their voice. And so that's what I have to say about that.
That's amazing. And just, yeah, I need to put that on the screen because wow, I've never heard that before. Your misery will be your ministry.
Mhm.
Um, and that's so powerful, right? Because a lot of us have been through very deeply painful, traumatic experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And part of even like recovering from a toxic job experience, right, is learning how to alchemize that pain into sharing it with other people,
Right.
um, who resonate, right? And like that's the beauty about sharing your journey when you're ready, when you're at that point. It's like people who are on the same journey will be attracted to you, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like a collective healing process that happens.
Right.
I love that. Hey, Nisha. Thank you for being here. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I do want to talk about Nice Girl Rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say for the audience, like when Vicky mentioned this in the garden, when
Yeah.
she first mentioned this, like, I don't know, something happened. Like, I need this, right? As a recovering nice girl, as a recovering people pleaser,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just kind of, it was a survival tactic
Yes.
right? To try to like predict other people's emotions, and then like put myself into a box, contort myself to try to like appease people and be who I thought they wanted me to be.
Right.
Um, and those of us who have survived childhood bullying, as you mentioned, like this is a tactic of survival so
Mm-hmm.
often. So I do want to talk about like what led you to create Nice Girl Rehab and what is it for those who may not know.
Okay, well, for a long time, like I said, I had different seasons of like being bullied and being mistreated. I felt like I legit had like a kick me sign on my back because I was like, what is going on? I would always be around people who had explosive personalities. And like what you were saying earlier, I was just trying to survive. And
Yeah.
so the best way to do that was people pleasing. And when I eventually took off the rose colored glasses, and be able to see what people's actions were for what they were, it was like a big like shift for me because my personality was so soft and gentle. Like I always had a kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya personality. Like
Uh-huh.
everybody's my friend. Evil doesn't exist. You know, if there's always a outlook that's good. Like we could always look at the bright side. And then so when I eventually took off my rose colored glasses, it was like, a second, like it's not what I thought it was. The idealistic way of how I viewed the world, it's not what I thought it was. And so in my transformation journey, when I was reading, you know, certain books, certain messages, it was so harsh. And it was like
Mm-hmm.
blame me like, oh, you know, you should have known beforehand what they were gonna do. And it's a dog eat dog world. Get them before they get you. And it's a snake, it's gonna bite you. Like all those things that people say. And it was just like blaming the victim and like kind of like allowing the perp to kind of prevail. And it was just kind of like I didn't like that. And like nice girls have so much beautiful qualities as well. And it was like, okay, well, we give people the benefit of the doubt. We look
Mm-hmm.
at the good in people and everything like that. So where's the support for us? So I wanted to create like a place where a soft space for nice girls to land, because usually it takes to hit rock bottom for nice
Mm-hmm.
girls to open up their eyes to see like, you know what, my life is unmanageable and I can no longer do this. So I just wanted that safe space for nice girls.
Wow, that's beautiful. Ooh, you said so many things that resonated. Like, me too, like having an idealistic view of the world, from such a young age, right? And just over a period of time, really, it started in middle school. Well, it didn't start, but it like really intensified in
Mm-hmm.
middle school. The harsh treatment, right?
Yes.
The you have to get it together. There's something
Mhm.
wrong with you.
Yeah.
Being told that you're too sensitive and just push through,
Mhm.
right? These messages are very damaging to a lot of us, because we're gifted, right? Our sensitivity is a spiritual gift, and
Mhm.
I think that's so beautiful to have like a soft space to heal and process what you've been through, right? Versus like the messaging like it's your fault. That's what we see when it comes to like healing from people pleasing, right?
Right.
It's your fault. You're lying to people, not understanding the deeper levels of trauma,
Mhm.
and that being a survival response,
Right.
right? Mm-hmm.
It's really bad because I remember reading somewhere like, oh, people pleasers are manipulators and this and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my. I was like, oh my goodness, like, is this supposed to be helping me or is this supposed to be like dagger in the chest? Like, it was just so dark in that way.
That's so true. Ooh, I've seen that messaging too. And especially like as a social worker, like realizing the trauma responses that happen, that people may not be aware of. If you're just looking at it at a surface level, it may be easy for you to say, oh, this person's manipulating,
Mm-hmm.
versus this is their a deeply ingrained survival response that has been happening over time, that has
Right.
allowed them to survive these really toxic environments. And how
Mm-hmm.
can we now have empathy for them versus like blaming the person who was actually the one who was traumatized?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's so true. And I see Sade. Hey, fellow garden participant.
Hello.
Hi, welcome, welcome. Yes, yes, Kyoka. Yes, sometimes the bullies are in your own family.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Anything you want to talk about when it comes to this? Like, if the bullies are in your family, how can you begin to heal? Because that's really difficult.
That
Mm-hmm.
is really difficult. And in regards to my family, that's where I first heard the "you're so soft," but it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
in a nice way. It was in a way of it was like they were cursing at me, like it's a bad
Mm-hmm.
thing to be soft and this and that, like shape up, this and that. And it's really, really tough because it's usually the people that are closest to us that can get under our skin. And
Mm-hmm.
so, the same ways we have to set boundaries with bullies that are not in our family, we have to set boundaries with people that are in our families that may be bullies as well. And it's
Mm-hmm.
the hardest thing because they're the closest ones to us.
That's true. That's
Mhm.
true. Yeah. And even like talking about childhood attachment wounds, which I've talked about before. Some of these wounds happen like very early on. If people have not given us the level of care that we deserve,
Mhm.
right, and been highly critical, these childhood wounds can manifest as adults, and we can feel like something is wrong with us our entire lives if we don't have that level of self awareness, as we talked about backstage,
Right.
um, that it's really not us. It's
Mhm.
these harsh environments that we're expected to survive in
Yes.
and day out. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm, absolutely. And I see a question from Kyoka's Vicky from New Orleans.
Oh, no, not from New Orleans. But I do have a Haitian background, I speak Creole. So I don't know if that connects
Okay.
any dots, but okay. I do get that a lot that I'm from New Orleans, but I do speak Creole.
Thank you. Yes. And she has a question. Yes. Why is it seen as a bad thing to be optimistic or sensitive? Feels like people try to stamp out those things in you. 100%. 100%.
That is so true.
Yeah. And I think living in a colonized world, right,
Hmm.
with a history of violence, the way
Right.
that the world looks like it does today, right? If you go
Hmm.
back to the roots of how these things were founded, and who was targeted, right? People who were open, who were loving, who were generous were the ones who were targeted. And so
Right.
it like programmed something within us that we have to be like the colonizers to survive, right? It's really deep, this level
Wow.
of trauma.
Profound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And anything you'd like to share around like it being seen as a bad thing to be a
It
sensitive
is
person?
in the sense of like the world really puts on a pedestal certain personality types
Mm-hmm.
and certain qualities, right? And so being optimistic and being sensitive, it's those are beautiful traits to have. But because the world that we live in is a dog eat dog kind of world, in order to survive, a lot of times those traits they are looked down upon. But that doesn't mean that
Mm-hmm.
they're bad things at all.
Yes. Yes, that's so true. And having your own like sense of validation for yourself.
Hmm.
If you're receiving feedback that something's wrong with you, like blocking it out and
Hmm.
realizing that you have the power to do that, to preserve those really beautiful elements of who you are,
Yeah,
right?
it got so bad for me that I literally started to resent the
Mm-hmm.
very gifts and the talents and the things that were supposed to be beautiful, I started to resent it because I attached my worth to how I was being treated.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
if I score, let's say I take a personality test, there was a test, it's a dope test. It's like you can either be a dove, an owl, a peacock, or an eagle. And I scored
Mhm.
dove. And I was like, oh, that's so boring. I was like, oh, I want to be the peacock. Like, that's what's celebrated. That's what. And I just wrestled for such a long time with self acceptance because it was
Mhm.
like, I saw the magic in so many other people. And I just like, I envied those people that nobody messed with them.
Mhm. Mhm.
No one would say nothing about them. I wanted to be like that, but that's just not how I was created. And so there was always so much of this like inner conflict that I would wrestle with within about like who I was born to be and who I
Mm.
wanted to be because it was
Mhm.
celebrated.
Right. Mhm. Ooh, that resonates. Yeah, that inner conflict that so
Mhm.
many of us have because, like you said, there are certain personality types that are um, given more in a society
Mhm.
that are like heralded. It feels like, and especially being like a Black girl introvert. I've seen so many videos on YouTube like talking about people's experiences being targeted so
Mhm.
often, right?
Yes.
Because there's a lot of stereotypes steeped in misogynoir of how we're
Mm.
expected to act on a day-to-day basis. And so when you go against that because you're an individual with
Yeah.
individual traits, with your personality, with who you were intended to be, who you were created to be,
Mhm.
when that goes against those stereotypes, that creates a lot of tension and it
Oh,
can
yeah.
like lead to attacks.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's see. Aaron says people are not nice. I feel that we are all here to break our hearts to show and give real love, even to ourselves. Or should I say, feels like heartbreak when it's already growth? Yeah, yeah. When it's growth, yeah, yeah. In the ways that we have been conditioned in the society, right, to not be nice to each other.
Mhm.
Um, because just brings up like the history, right? Especially like in the US context, the history of enslavement, of colonization, um, and just yeah of not being nice and how that has been rewarded
Oh,
throughout
yeah.
history over
Mhm.
time, right? Those deeper roots. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And hello, welcome. Yes. Daniela says my siblings would do the same, say I was weak and soft as a child because I cried when they harmed me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Intentionally, they still try these same tactics. I ignore them, still working through these feelings. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And something I'll be talking more about is lateral oppression, right? When
Mm.
we experience oppression in the larger society, a lot of
Mhm.
times that will like present itself as
Yeah.
oppressing each other, as a way to like get the feeling, the suppression of anger, of
Mhm.
sadness out, and we take it out on each other so often.
Oh, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Thank you, Daniela. Yeah, Sade says, I was so offended the first time I heard someone say that people pleasers are manipulative. Did I have insecurities that needed to be addressed? Yes. But was I trying to manipulate people? No.
Mm. That's good. That's
That
good.
is. Thank you. Yes. Yes. I do want to ask your personal journey in breaking free from the conditioning of being a nice girl. Anything that you like to share around that?
Yes, like I didn't have a like I woke up like this, like I didn't have that type of experience. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
bad. Like I wasn't just a people pleaser, but I was like a professional chameleon, part-time shapeshifter, like whatever anyone wanted to be, like wanted me to be, that's how I would show up. And through like over giving, over functioning, it's like my life became unmanageable. So it's like I had to go through like a transformation. in that regard. And it took a village, it took community. I didn't go through it alone. I had to invest in myself. So through like therapy, support groups, life coaches, and things of that nature that helped me along the way. And it wasn't until like there were women who, when I didn't have my voice, there were women who had a voice that helped me find mine. And so it wasn't until like one of my mentors, we worked together, and I was just explaining to her what I was going through, and she gave me like this audio book. It was like a CDs back in the day. You know, don't worry about it. CDs did. But it was an audio book, and it was called Codependency No More.
Ooh.
And it was
Yeah.
like, bing, there's a word for what I'm going through. Like I didn't
Mm.
realize that. And so it was that journey, like going to like support groups and getting the support that I needed that helped. And then a life coach of mine asked me a question, and she said, would you rather be liked or respected?
Ooh.
And y'all, I wrestled. I wrestled. I was like, at the end of the day, I want to be liked. And I just felt like so much like shame attached to that, because you want to say respected, you want to say that, but like in my heart of hearts, I just wanted to be liked. I didn't want to
Mhm.
ruffle any feathers. I didn't want to rock the boat or anything like that. And so breaking free from the nice girl conditioning, it was gut wrenching. It was very difficult, but it
Mm.
was worth it. It was definitely well worth it.
Mhm. And thank you for sharing that. Because the journey, ooh, the journey of first recognizing all these patterns that have been at play for your
Mhm.
entire life, it's like, wow, this has been happening for decades at
Right?
this point, right? Having self compassion because you didn't have the terms for it, you didn't know. I think you mentioned codependency, which is something I'm um, delving into now. I
Mhm.
didn't have that term before,
Right.
right? And once you have the term, it like unlocks all of this information. I
Mhm.
do want to ask just the power of that, having that initial self awareness, and then, as you mentioned, like being in community with other Black women who are able to share their stories,
Mhm.
um, and let you like or guide you on that path of finding your own voice. The power of information and
Mhm.
community on that journey.
Yeah. So, oh, it was very difficult because I was in denial for a long time. I
Yeah.
was in denial because I thought that um, I just thought that I needed to do more. I
Mm-hmm.
needed to do more. I needed to be more, and the it was pretty much approval addiction, like just being addicted to approval, wanting to just get that pat on the back. It was just
Mm-hmm.
very difficult in that regard. But those safe spaces, like especially like with the garden and what Leisha is doing, it's just like a beautiful thing because it's like there's so many different spaces that are create that Black women create, and it's just like if you don't know about those spaces, it's like it's very hard for you to heal.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Ooh, that is true. Yes. Approval addiction. That like hit my spirit.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. Constantly seeking approval, validation
Mhm.
externally, because that's often how we're socialized, right?
Right.
To look without, like to look outwardly to validate who we are in our
Mhm.
place in this world.
Yeah.
And I think the process of healing for me has been like turning that inward, right? Realizing again that you came here with everything that you needed. You're already enough as
Mhm.
you are.
Right.
And that's like a huge mindset shift versus like
It
seeking
really
approval
is.
constantly outside of yourself.
That is true. And like a game changer for me was I went to an event and they were passing out like little pamphlets on human rights. I didn't even know I had human rights.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like you were saying, with information, like learning, like, look, like I'm supposed to be here. And
Yeah.
because I'm here, I have value and I have worth. not because someone said I did or someone wants to give it to me. And especially with women, it's just like you're saying, we are conditioned. It's like if it's not the male gaze, it's like something else that
Mm-hmm.
validates our existence.
Yes, absolutely. Ooh, this, I'm supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
That is life changing.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, like feeling like our existence is like, should I be here? Like, should I show up like this? No, like how you were created, your position on earth, all of it is intentional.
Right.
Who you are is intentional,
Mm-hmm.
every piece of you.
Yeah.
And it's important to claim proudly all those parts of yourself, because this
Absolutely.
environment, this world can have you questioning, doubting the most sacred parts of who you are and feeling like something is wrong with you, which
Yeah.
can lead into cycles of depression, right? Anxiety, all these things that pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so true. I do want to read a comment. Yes, Erin says, as a Black woman, we have always been soft. Yes, but enslavers had to justify not treating us as human. Yes.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We have always been soft. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that. That is so true. And Kyoka says, is isolation and hiding the nice parts of yourself beneficial? Don't give to anyone so no one can take from you. Is that the answer? Finding genuine connections is hard for people pleasers. Hmm. Any
Mm.
thoughts that you have around maybe like protecting the nice parts of yourself from people who are mean and harsh and don't have any intention on changing?
Yes, I do believe so because if that person isn't a safe space, then sharing those parts, like there's a saying in the word, like don't give your pearls to swine.
Mm-hmm.
So there's value in what we have, and when we consider like who we're sharing those pearls with, it's very, very important. Um, but if you are hiding that piece of yourself in order to keep the peace, if you're
Mm-hmm.
hiding that part of yourself in order not to step on any toes, if you're, it depends on what the intention is. Is it more so for self-care to protect your peace, or is it a matter of like you don't want to rock the boat, or you're fawning? It's a
Mm-hmm.
trauma response and you're trying to survive. So it just depends on what the intentions are there.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that. Yes. Don't give your pearls to swine. That's a word. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Kyoka says, constantly telling myself I'm supposed to be here. I deserve to be here. Telling that to the little me too. Please do. Like even on a post-it note that you see every single day or on your phone, right? Something that you can repeat to yourself,
Mhm.
right? You were created to be here. As Vicky said, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Period. As
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And hey, Critic Chronicles, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Welcome.
Yeah. I want to ask what inspired the name Nice Girl Rehab? And what does that name signify to you?
Okay, well, actually, being in a support group, Celebrate Recovery, my mentor, after me listening to Codependency No More, actually went to a support group for the codependency. Celebrate Recovery was where I went, and actually going through the process, speaking with other women, and the women who didn't even look like me. We all had similar stories. And I was like, if I
Mm-hmm.
could just bottle this up and just share it with the world. And so I wanted that type of rehabilitation, but for nice girls. And so Nice Girl Rehab is essentially a safe space, a wake up call, a warm hug wrapped into one. And it's where women can embrace their kindness, their gentle spirit, their empathy, while also developing assertiveness, setting boundaries, and self respect. So, at its core, it helps women to break free from people pleasing, over functioning, burnout, and self neglect, fear of confrontation, and the belief that being nice means that you have to sacrifice yourself.
Wow. Wow. Like so often we'll see like those painted as like separate things, right? If you're empathetic, if you're kind-hearted, you have to like turn off those parts of yourself in order
Right.
to exist in this very harsh, unforgiving world.
Yeah.
And so to see like a program that allows you to both embrace who you are and
Hmm.
also like build the armor that you will need to have in
Hmm.
this world to protect the parts of yourself. That's beautiful. That's
It
beautiful.
is. It took a long
Hmm.
time to embrace the duality of that
Yeah.
because I thought I had to become someone else
Hmm.
in order to be, who I need to be. But it's like, okay, how can I embrace the beauty of what I have and still be able to balance it out a bit so that I'm not taken advantage of, I'm not mistreated, and things of that nature.
Mm. That's so essential. Yes. I see Sade says, I've done that intentionally and unintentionally simply as a means of survival. It doesn't feel safe to be soft, quiet, nice. Wow. Thank you.
That
Mm-hmm. Yep. And something I've had to learn along the way, right? Not every environment can I be my full self without the armor. I can always
okay.
protect those parts of myself, but it may require me to add an additional layer, right? Depending on what environment I'm in, because not everyone is nice, not
Hmm.
everyone is kind, not everyone has your best interest at heart. And I feel like those of us who are idealistic,
Hmm.
that's a huge journey of learning
It
and
is.
growing. Mm-hmm.
It's really tough because it's like, even like I don't feel like everyone deserves your story. And that's a tough one for me to realize because it was like, I remember like certain platforms, let's say I was on a panel or I was in a group or something like that, and I would share my story about being bullied or whatnot. And then you hear people like, oh, that wouldn't have been me. How you let somebody do that to you? And this and that. I'm like,
Wow.
what? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm being, that harsh blame again for how, I was being treated. So everyone doesn't deserve every piece of you, every part of your story. It's just a matter of being calculated in that. It's not about like hiding who you are, but it's just a matter of like who's privileged enough to get this part of me.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. And I'm just thinking, like, if I would have had that understanding, right, so much earlier on, that no, not everyone is a safe place for you to share, right? And
Right.
that's okay. You can still protect those parts of yourself and
Hmm.
just understand that you have to move through the world a little bit differently.
But
Mm-hmm.
it feels so unfair because a lot of times,
It does.
nice girls, we are the safe space.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
We are the safe space for so many people. So we think that, oh, I could, do the same thing with other people. And it's just like, just because you're a safe space for others doesn't mean that they can do it for you. And it feels like a lonely journey.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, it does. Thank you. Prayer warrior for life. Yes. Yes, I find that people often attempt to take advantage of me due to my light, love, and kindness. It's heartbreaking because it also reflects the harm and trauma in our environment. Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yes. And it is heartbreaking.
It
It
is.
is. It's hurtful.
It is. And it's like, I remember like coming to the realization of like the things that happened to me, I should be jaded. I
Mm-hmm.
should be,
Yeah.
but that didn't come up for me. But it's just like that nature that you have, it's so pure.
Mm-hmm.
That light, that love, that kindness is so pure. And it's unfortunate that everyone doesn't know how to deal with it, honor it, cherish it.
Yeah. Yes. Bonnie says, yes, it's a privilege for someone to know you fully. It is.
Hmm.
It is. Thank you for this. Yes. Mm-hmm. All those sacred parts of yourself, right?
Yeah.
They're there for a reason. Not everyone can handle them. That's okay. You can
Hmm.
protect them for yourself, right? And also understand that it's not fair that you're the
Right.
safe place for so many other people,
Hmm.
but you don't get that in return, right? Just to call that out, that's not fair. That's
It's
not.
not fair. And you said something, you said sacred parts. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we don't see our parts as being sacred.
Mm.
We don't see the value in ourselves. We don't see the value. So it's really hard for us to protect it because we don't know that it's sacred.
Wow. Yes, that's so true.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking back through my life experiences, right? It's just now like really coming to this age and understanding that those parts are sacred and not parts that make me like targets for bullies, right?
Mm,
All these things I've had to unlearn and like relabel
right.
within myself. Mm-hmm. Yes. I do want to ask you about nice girl syndrome,
Hmm.
how you define it and how it shows up in women's lives.
Okay, so I believe that is the belief where our worth is tied to how much we accommodate, sacrifice, and prioritize others above ourselves. So it shows up when you're saying yes when you want to say no,
Mm-hmm.
avoiding conflict to keep the peace, over explaining and over apologizing, feeling guilty for prioritizing yourself, and seeking external validation.
Wow. Yes. Yes. If that was a checklist, I'll be checking every one of those boxes like throughout my
Mhm.
life. That's me. Yes. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. And just understanding that you don't have to continue, right? You can, through programs like yours, um, hold those parts of yourself sacred, learn how to, and then
Mhm.
protect them from the
Right.
harsh environment. Hmm. That is this world.
Mhm.
Yeah. Danielle says this hits so hard for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I do want to ask just some common signs, right, that someone may need a program like Nice Girl Rehab.
Okay. Well, there's we know that there's 24 hours in a day. And
Yeah.
if you look at your calendar, your schedule, you're not a part of it. It's
Ooh.
filled with everyone else's milestones, parties, get-togethers, everything that everyone else has going on. You are not the main character in your story. You are the supporting act in your own story. Your thoughts are not your own. It's always about, well, okay, my parents feel this way, my cousins feel this way, this person, like your thoughts are not your own. And so your life is unmanageable. It's very difficult for you to also say no. And the
Mhm.
reasons behind that, you have a fear of abandonment. Um, you want approval more than you want self-respect. You feel responsible for the emotions and the feelings of other people.
Mhm.
You're over responsible, you're over functioning, you're over giving beyond what you're supposed to, and you struggle with prioritizing yourself. So, those are some things to think about if, Nice Girl Rehab is something that you're ready for.
Wow. And if someone's like, that's me, I need this, is there a way that they can sign up to work with you?
Yes, find me at vickysjoseph.com and send me a note.
Okay. Yes. Um, yeah, all of those things. And I wish I would have had this knowledge. I feel like a lot of us are at this, like, why didn't I know this earlier on?
Yeah,
Yeah. It could have saved me so much trauma if
right,
I had known this
mm,
information.
right.
Hmm. Hmm. I want to ask how the need to be nice and accommodating impacts Black women specifically when we think about things like intersectional oppression, right? Facing oppression from multiple angles, and anything you'd like to share around that question.
Well, when it comes to Black women, a lot of times we're celebrated by the amount of pressure that we can take.
Mm.
And resiliency is celebrated over rest. And so a lot of times we feel like it's a badge of honor if we do the more that we do without complaint. We may be afraid of being labeled. We don't want to assert ourselves because we don't want to be labeled as the angry Black woman. We don't want to be labeled as difficult. And
Mhm.
like right now, I know like most of like YouTube, there's like this femininity movement that's going around, and it's like, this is what you're supposed to be in order to be feminine, to be soft, to be dainty, or whatever the case may be. And it's just like we're trying to fit into this bubble, but a lot of times it may not be a good fit for us. Some qualities may resonate, some may not. And so we're just trying
Mm-hmm.
to fit in a mold that may not be what is the best for us. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. Ooh, I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot
Oh,
of thoughts.
shit.
Uh, yeah, just like what is that based on, right?
Mhm,
The femininity content and trying to force ourselves, like you said, into this box that
mhm.
was never created for us.
Right.
And so there's a lot of shaming tactics.
Mhm.
And I've seen a lot of people like take advantage of it, like monetarily, right?
Yes.
Getting people into programs to become more feminine,
Mhm.
right? That's like egregious to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like it's pretty much one dimensional. Like I had to like learn too, because I went through a certain phase. I thought femininity, was a certain way, or only certain women, you know,
Hmm.
have these certain type of traits and everything like that. But some of the qualities that I have, I had to embrace. I am nurturing.
Hmm.
I am kind. I am caring. Like these are beautiful qualities that it may not be in the femininity training, but these are things that, I may exude naturally. So there's things that we may exude naturally that we may not be giving ourselves credit for. And for Black women specifically, like a lot of times we're placed in roles that we didn't we didn't ask for. A lot of times because you're a woman, you're the caregiver in the family.
Hmm.
I've heard, I'm not the firstborn, I'm the last, but I've heard firstborn daughters talk about them being the managers of their families.
Hmm.
So a lot
Hmm.
of times we get placed into these roles where we have to be strong. We're called inanimate objects. Oh, you're the rock,
Wow.
the backbone, you're this, right? And so a rock doesn't have feelings, a rock doesn't have emotions, a rock doesn't. And a lot of times our humanity is not even embraced. We're not even looked as human beings,
Hmm.
right? So being tired or feeling like, you know what, I don't, there was a movement, people were saying, I don't want to be strong anymore. And hey,
Hmm.
that's okay too. That that's okay too. And it's just like
Yeah.
whatever movement and whatever um, season that you're in, you can embrace that.
Hmm. Hmm. I've never thought about it that way. These are inanimate objects,
Mm-hmm.
right? The terms that we see circulating, like you said,
Yeah.
rock,
Yeah.
backbone. Where
Mm-hmm.
is the humanity, right? In any of that, it's not there. It's not present.
No.
And so you're just expected to endure, and
Right.
that is the role that society has assigned you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we see all this backlash when we're like, no, right, rejecting that. I'm actually a human being. I have emotions and feelings. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not here for your role that you've assigned me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, because people are not used to that.
Right. It's unfortunate, and like you'll see like like Valentine's Day is coming up. You'll like
Hmm.
those messages that are like, "Oh, thank you for all that you've put up with me." And you it's just like, "What?" It's like, "Thank you for being, I'm your headache," and all these things that people say and they celebrate, and I'm just like, "How is this romantic?"
Uh huh.
Get celebrated for the amount of um, trauma, stress that you can take on as a Black woman a lot of
Hmm.
times.
Hmm. Yes. Hmm. Thank you for that. Yes. I want to ask what the Nice Girl Rehab program entails and
Mhm.
how it helps women step fully into their power if they may have been in a season of questioning it, of their voice being muted? How does it help them like recover those parts of their self themselves?
Okay, it's a journey of like either like one-on-one coaching or group support. It's helping women break free from people pleasing, setting boundaries, and rebuilding confidence. It's literally like starting from ground zero and working our way up to the point of understanding our worth, understanding that, again, we're supposed to be here, and embracing the beauty of the qualities that we have while setting the boundaries and the assertiveness. So, we're literally going to be detoxing from a lot of things. Because, again, remember, approval is an addiction. And so, we have to detox from a lot of those things that at one point they gave us joy. They helped us get through life. They helped us survive. They helped us, we love to feel needed and wanted and validated and stuff like that. There's a huge withdrawal that happens when we may not get those things. Because the people that benefited from us not having boundaries, you think they're going to like us standing up for ourselves and owning our power? Absolutely not. And so I pretty much help, I become one of the villagers, a part of your village, and helping you understand that you have to brace yourself for impact. This is not going to be an easy journey, but it's going to be worth it. So reclaiming your voice, healing from guilt and shame. There's a lot of self-blame that's
Mhm.
attached because of the things that have happened to us, developing self worth, embracing the softness and the strength, the beauty of it, and building healthy relationships.
Mm-hmm. And I have never thought about that, the withdrawal period.
Mm-hmm.
When you begin healing and not having approval as your main source of validation, like you said, it can bring a lot of things. It can bring happiness,
Yeah.
joy, all these things. How do you like transition that when the approval, you're no longer seeking that external validation or approval? Um,
Right. It's tough
wow.
because relapse can happen. Relapse can happen because it's like, okay, this no longer feels good. So,
Mm.
how can I feel good again? Or how can I make this person like me again? Things of that nature. And so, that's the difficult part about it. So, there's like a 12-step framework, just like any rehab
Mm-hmm.
type of program. So, there's 12 steps that we go through to help you to get to a place where you can stand on your own.
Wow. That's groundbreaking. That truly is groundbreaking, right? To walk someone through all
Mhm.
of the steps of recovery, because
Right.
you're transforming
Yes.
during this process. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. Hmm. I want to ask about something you mentioned, guilt
Mhm.
or fear that women may experience when setting boundaries. How does this program help you work through that to get to the other side during your transformation?
Well, I teach women that setting boundaries is a lifestyle. It's
Mm.
not the last resort. And I remember like kind of bumping my head along the way because it was like, wait a second, I just set a boundary last week. I have to set another boundary? Like, what's going on here? Like, and it was just like people coming left and right, left and right. And it was just like people were always pushing their boundaries. I just noticed it now.
Mm-hmm.
So helping women to reframe that boundaries, it's about self-respect, not selfishness. And so reframing that boundaries is about, it's also a way of self-care. We have to understand that we have limitations and embracing the limitations that we have, because we live in a society that's, oh, well, you'll sleep when you die,
Mm-hmm.
and like just keep going, push through and everything like that. And then there's also the toxic positivity, that's out there as well. And so it's just about understanding that boundaries is your friend, it's not your enemy. and it's here to be able to assist you. And I help women to sit in the discomfort. I cannot promise you guilt and fear won't show up, especially in the beginning, it will. That fear of
Mm-hmm.
abandonment,
Mm-hmm.
like I remember, like what, fourth grade, like hearing, I don't want to be your friend anymore, and what that meant.
Oh.
What? So even like as an adult, that I don't want to be your friend anymore. You changed. You're acting brand
Mm.
new. That energy, and sitting in that discomfort, embracing that discomfort, and understanding that you will survive it. You
Mm-hmm.
will survive it. And the best part of you is on the other side of that recovery, but you have to get through the discomfort of it all. And another thing that we talk about is like, not our knee jerk reaction a lot of time is to say yes, but giving yourself room,
Mm-hmm.
answer right away, letting people know I'll get back to you. So
Mm-hmm.
it gives you enough time to be able to tailor your no.
Ooh, that is so powerful. Mm. Mm-hmm. And just like viewing boundaries, right, as your friend,
Yeah,
and not viewing it as a life or death matter, because
yeah.
many times, like childhood experiences, right, sometimes these were a life or death matter, right, depending
Yeah,
on the environment that you grew up in.
yeah,
Saying no could have
mm,
been life or death, and
yeah,
it's just a matter of reprogramming, right, through
mhm.
programs like yours, to be able to be like, no, I'm out of that environment, and now I can say no, and now I can establish these things for myself to preserve my wellness, right, because it's
Absolutely.
essential. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. I see Glamazini. Hello. Yes. Came on my favorite topic, boundaries. Good to
Yay.
see you here. Yes. Yes. I want to ask any advice you would give. Um, if women who are struggling, right, with speaking up for themselves, are in the audience or watching live or watching the replay, any advice you would share or tips with them?
Even if your voice is shaking, start small. So, in order for you, setting boundaries, speaking up for yourself, all of it is like building a muscle, right? You have to work it out. And so, start off small, value your preferences. I remember there was an instance where I had to go pick up a birthday cake for myself, and they spelled my name wrong. And I literally circled around that Winn Dixie like for 45 minutes. Should I tell them something? Should I tell? And then I finally went to that counter and was like, "Hey, you guys, it's a Y, not an I." And then they literally, it took them a second to just whoop put that Y in there, but I was
Yeah.
panicking. But it was
Yeah.
just like that
Hmm.
little, excuse me, can you do this or that. So using your voice in small ways, whether it's like to correct a food order or something like that, asking for
Oh.
a condiment, or have some ketchup, may I have this, little things. Because how many of us, we get the bag of whatever, we look in there, it doesn't have everything. I don't want to bother nobody, and then we just go on. But that could have been a practice of you
Hmm.
asserting yourself and speaking up for yourself. So start off small. Those big conversations that you want to have, they start off with the small ones. Value your preferences. What do you want? Pepsi or Coke? You like water versus juice? Like, what do you want? Like, have an
Hmm.
opinion. Where do you want to go for lunch? Say something, choose something, have an
Yeah.
opinion. So those are ways that you can stand up for yourself in small ways.
Mm. I love that. Yes. Yeah. And sending a food order back. Ooh, that's one I'm still working on.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Ooh. And for those of us who were like constantly told, and in environments where we had to shrink to
Hmm.
stay safe, this process can feel, ooh, like you said, very difficult. And I love that you're upfront with that.
Hmm.
right? This will be a difficult process,
Right.
but you can get through it. Hmm.
Absolutely. I wish someone would have told me how hard it would have been. You know what I mean? Like I wish I would have
Yeah.
prepared. But that's why I'm here to help.
Yes. If you are interested in joining Nice Girl Rehab, please reach out to Vicky. Here is her website. Once again, I do want to ask self worth, right? What role self worth plays in breaking free from something like people pleasing, which a lot of us are in the process of healing from?
It has everything to do with it. A lot of times, people pleasing has to do with a belief that you have to earn love, respect, and belonging. And so, when you know your worth and you examine what you tolerate, um, then you'll be able to understand that the more you value yourself, it's easier to set those boundaries and to be able to stop with the seeking the validation, and you'll stand in your power unapologetically. But if you don't believe that you have worth, that's when we allow a lot of things that we shouldn't, a lot of behavior that we shouldn't.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh, and I'm just thinking about all of the experiences that we might have had like throughout childhood, adolescence. It's like little cuts over time. And we
Yeah.
get to this point as adults, right, where we are tolerating things that are just like unimaginable. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, when you look back, you realize like where those wounds were made,
Hmm.
in like understanding that you now have the power to heal them. So those things can't
Hmm.
get through anymore.
That's deep. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
is true.
I see Marilyn. Hello. Just popping in to say real quick, yes. Thank you for being here. Okay. I will check my email. Yes. No, you're fine. Thank you for being here. Yes. Woo. That was powerful. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
that's true.
Yeah, I do want to ask as we're winding down, one
Mhm.
piece of advice. If someone is listening who is a recovering nice girl, just one piece of advice that you would share with that person.
I would say give yourself grace and but
Mm-hmm.
stay committed to the work. It's not going to be linear. It's not going to be in a way where it's all sugar plum and fairy dust. Give yourself grace. And a lot of times we offer grace to so many people, and we don't give that same grace to ourselves. So be
Mm-hmm.
gentle with yourself, be kind, the same attributes and the same qualities that you give other people, to turn it inward. You mentioned self compassion earlier, and so having self compassion.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is so true. Wow. And healing is not linear, like you said. It's not like so
Mhm.
often it's sold to us. Again, in a lot of
Exactly.
these marketing materials, it's like get on the escalator and ride up to this destination of healing, then you'll be healed.
Hmm.
As I share so often, like there's never a place that you reach where you're healed because new
Right.
wounds will always be formed just in the
Mhm.
process of living.
Yeah,
New old wounds will be reopened. So it's a continuous process of healing, and
right.
understanding that it is not linear.
That
It
is
looks
so
more
true.
like this.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. And a lot of people
Yeah.
feel like, there's this instant, this microwave society that we're in, like this instant healing. It doesn't
Hmm.
work that way.
No, not at all. No. So if you are on the journey, right, of recovering from being a nice girl, please reach out to Vicky again. Here is her website. I do want to ask, as we're winding down, how people can connect with you, and also learn more about the services that you offer.
Yes, you can connect with me on VickySJoseph.com. And also, I'm on Instagram and X at Vicky All Day.
I love that. And now let me link your Instagram one more time. Yes, please follow Vicky on Instagram as well. Here's her handle. I see Rashidat. Hey, good to see you here. Yes. Yeah. Queen Lizzie, hey, welcome. Yeah, so hard to be kind to myself when others can be so mean. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, Vicky, anything that you want to share around being in a really mean society as we see it like on full display these days,
Yes, that
how
was a
can we, yeah, be
that
kind
was
to ourselves?
harsh reality for me, understanding that this is a mean society, but it's about like kind of like cocooning yourself in like
Yeah.
your own little
Hmm.
bubble of like the things like makes me think of that song. These are a few of my favorite things, like
Hmm.
allowing yourself to create an atmosphere of love and of care and of joy for yourself before you even step outside in the world. So, what is that? Is it the music that you enjoy? Is it the creative outlets that you have? And just embracing the unique, quirky, different parts of yourself before others get into that.
Yes, yes. Because those quirky parts of yourself, right? Those are the magic. Those are the
Yeah.
magical parts of yourself, and they're there for a reason. They're there for a
Absolutely.
reason. Again, those of us who were bullied as children, and those parts we were taught that we had to hide them, right?
Hmm.
Make sure no one saw them. It's like now you have to like tell yourself like it's safe to
Yes.
reveal,
Mm,
right?
absolutely.
Mm. Hmm. Just catching this live, so I'll be back to the beginning, but this sounds so helpful already. Oh, yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. Yes. If you're watching the replay, please like this video so that's shared with other people who are on the journey of recovering from being the nice girl, right? Reclaiming the authentic parts of yourself, despite living in a really mean world in society, knowing that you can guard those parts.
mm.
And you yourself can view them as sacred, even if no one else does. You
Yeah.
always have that power.
Absolutely.
Yes, I want to thank y'all so much for being here in the live chat, for sharing your experiences, questions. And I want to thank Vicky so much for being
Thank
an
you so
amazing guest, sharing so much about her program, Nice Girl Rehab. Again, please reach out to her. I'll put her website up here one more time if you are interested, VickySJoseph.com. And yes, yeah, until next time, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Bye. Thank you.